She's an author, life coach, and motivational speaker. She has written 7 best-selling books. She's a millionaire entrepreneur who has helped millions of people discover their infinite potential. She's Lisa Nichols, and here's my take on her top 50 rules for success. Enjoy. All right, let's kick it off with rule number 1. You are your rescue.
I struggled all through school. The last time I took English class, I got a fail. And my English teacher said I was the weakest writer she ever met in her entire life. The last time I took a speech class, same year, I got a D- in speech. And my speech teacher said, Lisa, quote unquote, I recommend you never speak in public, that you get a desk job. So that was the beginning of my life. That was my 19-year-old experience. And then I go on and I'm trying to figure it out. I was obedient. I went and got a job in accounting. I was in the collection department for 7 years. Y'all don't know I'm dangerous to accounting. I'm just dangerous. And I'm in collections, and you know, you should never put a broke person in collections. Never, because everybody's reasons sound good to me. I know it sounds funny, but it was real. Not only did I say, girl, don't you worry about paying that. I'm gonna take your name off the list. Somebody went to jail because I was in I got fired from 5 different jobs. Yeah. And then I got pregnant with my son unexpectedly. And then at 8 months, my son's father went to prison. I had to get on government's assistance to have my baby. I was on WIC, Women, Infant, and Children, to feed my child. And when my son was 8 months old, I went to the ATM to get $20 out the bank because I didn't have any Pampers for him. And in order to get $20 out, you got that $20 in. I had $11.42. And I still can't tell the story without getting emotional because it's my story. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For 2 days, I had to wrap my son in a towel. But something happened, Steve, in those 2 days. I was at rock bottom. I was broke and I was broken. Inglewood, California. My son laying on his back at 8 months. I have a towel over him and I have my hand on his stomach saying, don't you worry, Jaylani. Mommy will never be this broke again. And I made a decision. I was bankrupt. And every stinking thinking I had, I was bankrupt and trying to protect my pride. I was bankrupt and trying to be all that in a bag of chips and a bowl of grits, falsified. Mm-hmm. I was bankrupt and trying to not ask anyone for help. I was bankrupt in everything that was holding me and keeping me where I was. Mm-hmm. I've always talked a good game, but I wasn't doing anything with my gift. Mm-hmm. And all that thing about potential, I was tired of having potential. I wanted to have my now. And I looked at that baby at 8 months and I said, I want to transform your life. Because you didn't ask to come into this chaos. Come on. As an African-American male child in South Central Los Angeles with a single mother whose father's in prison, he had a 66% chance of going to prison himself. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. So if I have to be willing to drastically transform myself so that I can become the woman that I know I can be. Right. And that's what I began to do. I was radical.
What did you do, Lisa? What did you do to change your life?
First, I realized I couldn't grow with people who were struggling like me. That whole, I don't want to leave nobody behind. No, I don't want to stay with y'all. Right. You don't even want to be here. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be the queen of this block. Yeah. And I became okay with the fact that it doesn't make me any less committed to my community, committed to my culture, committed to my family. The best thing I can do for you is not stay here with you. That's right. When I've got that, I went to places I'd never seen before. I went to conferences where people were talking about money, talking about prosperity, talking about, it was like, no habla español. What y'all talking about? ROIs and PPMs and term agreements and capital fundraising and bottom lines and what is it? I'm gonna stay until I learn what you're talking about. I went to the same conference 42 times. And there I raised $532,000 in capital for my company to start my dream. And my dream was to transform teen lives. I want to teach teens how to fall madly in love with themselves and how to make integrity-based decisions. And I got it funded and I started working. And that was the beginning of me rescuing myself. I realized that I am my rescue. No one else is my rescue. I am my rescue.
Rule number 2, believe in the unseen.
So I was hungry. I was hungry. People often want to call me the exception. Like, oh my God, you're the exception. No, I'm not the exception. I'm an average, ordinary woman who chose every day to make one more extraordinary decision.
I'm an average, ordinary mom who said, I want to drastically transform my son's future. That he deserves to have every option that every other child would have, irregardless of what he was born into. I just was crazy enough to believe that. That it doesn't matter the color of my skin, doesn't matter my religious background, doesn't matter my origin, it doesn't matter my mom's bank account and my dad's bank account when I was born. None of that means my future. That's just the circumstance that I came from. That's not what defines my future. I just believe that. Not a lot validated it, but faith is believing in the unseen anyway. So I had enough faith to go, I know like I know, like I know, like I know. I don't necessarily have to see it yet.
Rule number 3, use affirmations.
Christy talked about affirmations. Abundant thinkers understand the power of I am. Anything after the word I am is true to your unconscious mind, Michael. Anything. Anything after I am. Anything. Anything after I am. Even if you know it's not true, your conscious mind will believe it. Anything after I am. So the use of affirmations is very intentional and very consistent. I was diagnosed as clinically depressed in 2001. 1998, I'm sorry. I was diagnosed as clinically depressed. It didn't make sense. I had been in a relationship, I was engaged to get married, and my fiance, who I did not know at the time, was bipolar. And he stopped taking his medicines and under the belief system that love can cure anything. And so I ended up being picked up and thrown 3 feet across the room, and I ended up being choked until I passed out. And once I got out of that relationship, I just was different. It was different. So my mom insisted that I go to the doctor. I went to the doctor, and I sat on the table, and she checked me and talked to me and came back in with a prescription. And she said, Lisa, you're clinically depressed. And I felt like I heard Charlie Brown's parents talking like, wah, 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 wah. Clinically depressed, at least that'll make sense in that same sentence. And she handed me a prescription, and I read the prescription, and it had my name on it, and it said Prozac. And I thought, that don't make sense. Lisa Nichols, that don't make sense. And I said, do you mean I'm sad? She said, very, very sad. I said, can I try something? And I'm not recommending you guys, if you're on medication, you stop taking your meds, please don't do that. I asked my doctor, she agreed. I said, do you mind if I try something before I take this? She goes, yes, but I need to see you back in 30 days. If you're in the same condition, I need us to try this medicine. I said, okay, I could do that. So I went home, and every day I got in the mirror, and I drilled, I am, every day, because I realized I had forgotten who I was. I just forgot. And it was okay to forget. I just forgot. So every day for 25 minutes, I just went over the I ams. Every day, I am. And then I paralleled that with I forgive you for. Then I paralleled that with I commit to you, Lisa, every single day. I went back in 30 days, and I'm talking to her, and I'm on fire. She's just looking at me. And I'm just talking. She twisted her head again. And I'm just talking. She says, wait, I got to stop you. I said, what? She goes, what are you taking? And can I have some? I was like, I'm taking some of me. And so the power of I am can pull you through the darkest moment. The power of I am.
Rule number 4, create holistic success.
Success is personally defined by everyone. And as you're creating success, create holistic success. My biggest successes are the things that people don't even see. It's the fact that my 14-year-old son calls me his best friend to his friends. That's bigger than any book deal that you can give me. That's bigger than sitting across from Larry King or beside Oprah, that my 14-year-old son calls me his best friend. Creating holistic success is really important.
Also, if you want to learn how to have more confidence, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links are in the description below.
We validate who we are by what we're doing for other people. I say if your knees aren't knocking and your teeth aren't chattering just a little at least, then you're not playing big enough. It lands a little easier. I remember there was a time in my life when all I wanted was for people to accept me.
Rule number 5, do something different.
Let me tell you, in order to have something different, you are going to have to do something different. In order to have something more, you have to do something you haven't done yet. I had to say the things I didn't want to say, do the things I didn't feel like doing to have the life I know I wanted. Period. Period. And all I did was give instructions for here, do this bite size, do this bite size, do this bite size. Bite size, digestible, palatable pieces of what you can do. Does that sound good, you guys? And when you look up, and you don't have to have a magnificent change over 12 months, have a small change over 30 days, and then a small change over 30 days, your breakthrough will come in needlepoint moves. And you'll look up in 5 years and not recognize your life.
Rule number 6, stop asking for permission.
What's been your biggest accomplishment, you think?
Bouncing back, number 1, is refusing to listen to the negative chatter in my own head, refusing to listen to other people's perception of me, creating something from absolutely nothing. So I gotta, there's the books, there's the TV, there's all that stuff. But my biggest accomplishment is being willing to give myself 1,000 second chances. And every time I got to 999, I pressed reset.
Yeah.
I didn't ask permission, I gave notice. Yeah. At some point, I have to stop asking, can I be great? Can I be brilliant? Can I be okay and still be accepted? I just stopped asking permission and just gave notice unapologetically, and not in a braggadocious way, not in a way that shrunk anyone else, in a way that said, I only got one life, and I'm gonna ride this one till the wheels fall off. And then all the other stuff came.
Wow.
As a result of a decision I made.
Right, but it was a decision.
It was a decision, but it didn't come from, a motivational experience. It didn't come from an inspiring teacher. It came from hitting rock bottom.
Rule number 7, disrupt your soil.
There's so much value in what you unlearn. Sometimes the best thing you can do is unlearn some things. We're always going after learning something new because we're information junkies, because we have all these forms of information coming at us on the internet, coming at us in books, coming at us on the radio, coming at us in television, that we want to learn. But sometimes your biggest breakthrough is in what you unlearn. And then you relearn. Sometimes you have to disrupt your soil, pull your soil up, take that dry dirt that's been planted for years. I know, I've just been knowing this for years. This is what my mother taught me. This is what we've always known. You have to disrupt that soil in order to plant a new seed to grow a new fruit. Yeah? You guys got that? And so I came very comfortably to disrupt your soil. Like, that's what I came for, to disrupt your soil. Not to necessarily keep you comfortable in what you know. Stay comfortable in that. I want to disrupt you in some things that are new awareness to go, oh, wait, hold on. Or new awareness about what you've been doing based on what you've known forever that doesn't fit your future anymore. Because I can guarantee you, every single one of us who wants something different than what we're getting, we're doing something unconsciously from old patterns that doesn't even serve our future. That's when the tongue in your mouth and the tongue in your shoe are going in 2 totally different directions. And your job is to align them up so that you can move forward in a powerful way.
Rule number 8, unpack your story.
Every single thing you touch is impacted by your story. As an attorney, as a teacher, as an architect, there's not one line of business that you can be in that a story, and a great story, won't elevate your outcome. Every single line of business, every single line of service that you're connected to will be impacted and ideally elevated by the level in which you're willing to tell and share your story. So let me give you some guidelines, some parameters, what I like to call the bumper rails, as if you were going bowling. When I go bowling, I ask them to put the little bumper rails down so I can my ball can get down the lane. So let me set up some bumper rails for you so that you understand what makes a great story. So 1 is the willingness to take risk. Most people, Vishen, when they're telling a story, they don't want to take a risk. So the story has its limits on how high it'll go or how deep it'll go. And when you have that, then you're really not at that part that's going to touch my soul. So being willing to take a risk, being clear and concise with your stories. A great story is a show me story, not a tell me story. Now, this is the distinction that's the game changer for most. Most people are telling a story. They say, so let me just share with you a little bit of my story, and I'll tell you and then I'll show you. So as I was building my life, there was a time in my life that was very difficult. It was very challenging. True story. Very difficult, very challenging, very uncomfortable. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of hope, and things just looked dismal. At some point, I had to turn my life around. At some point, I made the decision that life had to get better. I'm telling you that. It's decent. You learn about me. Then if I were to show you that story, I would say 6 days a week, I had to eat beanies and weenies. I had to find money in the crevices and the corners of my couch so that I can get my son milk. There were times when my heart would beat fast just at what am I going to have tomorrow? At some point, I got sick and tired of my own story. Is this going to be my future? No, I can't handle it. Notice the difference in that second story.
Wow.
I completely see that.
I just painted a picture. Same story. Now, the second one, when you show a story, it's going to require more of you. It's going to require you to find the colors. What were you thinking? What were you experiencing? What was going on in your head? Instead of telling me you look for money, turn and point. Now, this is anywhere. This is anywhere you are doing anything. I promise you, you become a great storyteller and you will captivate your audience no matter what you're doing. I've captivated investors. I've captivated students. I've captivated educators because I was willing to show the story. I call it unpacking the story vision. Being willing to tell me, what were you thinking? What were you feeling? What were you seeing? Think about a story as an oral movie. And so in an oral movie, think when you're looking at a movie, the first thing they do is they identify what state of time it is. Is it futuristic? Is it in the now? Was it back in the day? You notice that based on what people are wearing, how they're talking. So paint that picture for me. Take me to that environment. Set the backdrop up for me. Show me what you're going through. Instead of saying I was angry, you can tell me you were angry. But when you say the hair on the back of my neck was standing up, I felt the fumes exiting my nose. I thought that my chest was going to pop and I was going to say something that I'd regret forever. Ooh, you just showed me you were angry. Take that extra time to unpack it. Why will most people not do that? Because it requires a level of vulnerability that we're not willing to share.
Rule number 9, find true abundance.
Myth number 2 is that abundance is singularly focused on possessions and money. Right? It's all about what you drive, what you live in, how much money you make. When in fact, this couldn't be further from the truth. Wealth is possessions and money. Abundance is a 360 experience. Abundance is a 360 experience. True abundance is your health, because if you don't have great health, life does not feel good. Abundance is relationship. And at the end of your life, literally, you will measure the quality of your life by the quality of the relationships you had. All the other stuff will fall away. That promotion you're thinking about, you're wondering about that raise, it will fall away in the area of importance when you get to the end of your life. You will begin to look at the quality of your relationships. How are your children relating to you? How are your siblings relating to you? Do you have love in your life? You literally will start looking at relationships at a higher level as you get older. So when you mind them now, you take care of them. And I know that for a fact. I have a friend who's worth $14 billion. Billion with a B. He was just partying at my house all night long, wouldn't leave, 4 a.m, go home. And he flew in from Canada to go to my New Year's party because he loves my family connection. And he doesn't have one. He is financially wealthy. He's relationship broke. Does that make sense? Abundance is a 360 experience. It's about relationships. It's about health. It's about your spiritual groundedness. That doesn't mean you have a religious origin. It's about, can you release? Can you forgive? Can you let go? Can you be still? Do you meditate? Do you have time with yourself? That has a lot to do with the quality of your life, that ability.
Rule number 10, dream big.
You know, I have a message for you. A very important message. We live in a world where, limiting beliefs and limited thinking is accepted. And in some environments, it's actually encouraged. Not to put anyone down or any institution down, but look at our educational system. It's bound by who you can be, who you can't be. We're taught that, as an academic excellence student, you are expected to achieve more pressures. But yet even inside that more, that higher achievement, there's still a limiting belief there. I look at my life today and it's barely recognizable. I'm grateful to say I have 6 bestsellers. I've sat with Oprah, with Larry King on CNN, Good Day LA. I've traveled all over the world, did work in Taipei and Africa and Kazakhstan. But that wasn't where I started. I started struggling for 12 years in the educational system, not thinking I was good enough. The word fail
or not pass was threaded through every year in school in some area or another. And so I graduated, or got out. I mean, I graduated, but what did I graduate to? I graduated more of who I think I might be able to be or who I couldn't be, but not my possibility. I look up, and for the first 10, 15 years of my adulthood, I struggled. I struggled because I didn't dream big enough at that time. I didn't know. I felt like my dreams were covered and smothered with the cultural limitations. We're defined by who our parents were, what our culture can do, what our community can do. So you look at all the areas of our lives, financially, mentally, emotionally, family, geographically, and all of those things kind of put us in a box. And some of our boxes are this big, so we think they're amazing. Some of them are this big, and we know they're choking the life out of us. The reality is, we're trained to be realistic, to be logical, to stay practical. And there's nothing realistic and logical about Steve Jobs and his journey. There's nothing realistical and logical about Dr. Martin Luther King and his willingness to be radical for a change that none of us saw coming. There's nothing realistic about Nelson Mandela leaving prison after 27 years and leading the largest forgiveness movement ever. There's nothing realistic and logical about even my journey. Born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, having 3 fights a week just to get home from school, being told that I was the weakest writer my teacher had ever met and that I should never speak in public by my speech teacher, to looking at my life today and going on and having a child before I got married and getting on government's assistance just to feed my baby, not having money to buy him Pampers, and wrapping my son in a towel for 3 days until I can afford to get money to buy him Pampers. I look at my life and I wasn't supposed to be who I am today. Something turned, but it didn't come from outside. It didn't come from my culture or my community. It came from within. Who I was committed to transforming my life into just didn't fit. It didn't fit realistic. It didn't fit practical, and it didn't fit logical. I didn't know how I was going to get there. There were no examples of how I would get there. There was no instructions. There was no GPS. And there wasn't even anyone around me that had an idea of how to help me. All there was my intuition, my internal GPS, my internal God placement system, and the will and the desire and the big dream inside my belly. And I was willing to keep at it until I birthed something greater than myself. In order to live the life you love and love the life you live, you have to be willing to step on the other side of normal, on the other side of where people give you permission to step. You have to be willing to step on the other side of realistic. You have to be willing to dream big and give yourself a radical chance for a radical future and a breathtaking possibility. It starts with you, I promise.
Rule number 11, disrupt your standard.
I run into so many people all around the world who are living this duality. One, I want more, but two, I don't want to disrupt what I have. And the challenge is, in order for you to have a breakthrough to the next level, your standard, your average, and your ordinary has to be disrupted. People say, oh, Lisa, how do I do this? And I go, do this, 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 and this. I give you the steps. And the next thing they say is, that's so hard. I'm sorry. Did you think your breathtaking life would come on a merry-go-round? Did you think you're gonna do the swings and get there? You're gonna sweat. So get up, ready to sweat. Get up, ready to forgive the perceivingly unforgivable. Get up, ready to take the higher road even when the smallness in you wants to get engaged. Avoid the fight, because the fight keeps you in the little you when you're committed to being the bigger version of yourself. Yeah, you're gonna have to say some things you never said and do some things you've never done so you can meet the man, the woman you've always known yourself to be.
Rule number 12, create micro wins.
This whole piece in my book, Abundance Now, I wrote it a while ago, and it's amazing in terms of just talking about and breaking down what's the difference between a macro win and a micro win.
And a micro win is that smaller goal that's you can see, it's attainable, you get that instant result. And most people are chasing the macro win all the time, and they're not looking at all the micro wins that they can feel really good about to get them to that macro result. If you create 5, 7, 8, 10 micro wins, guess what? Now you're in a rhythm. Now you're building some consistency. Now you like the way it feels. And then before you know it, you look up and go, whoa, there's that macro win, that huge goal that I thought was 100 miles away. It wasn't 100 miles away. It was 7, 8, 11 micro wins away.
Rule number 13, master time management.
And so when you look at prioritizing, it really lives in, and I'm gonna say this word, and you're probably not gonna wanna hear it, but when I tell you it's a game changer, when you master, and just for now, begin to operate inside of time management. I used to resist time management because I'm a free spirit, / people would call me a rebel back in the day, meaning I didn't want to be controlled. I'm a butterfly. I wanted to soar. I wanted to be free. Well, the reality is that when you manage your time more effectively, you actually create more freedom. That was a huge aha for me. Somebody's gonna BOL right now, like breakthrough out loud. Because when you time manage, meaning I'm gonna use better blocks of my time. Let me give you some examples for that. I'm gonna use better blocks of my time, meaning I'm only gonna go in my email 3 times a day. I go on my email about 9:30, between 9:20 and 9:40, I go on my email. I stay in my email for 30 minutes. I'll go back in my email about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I stay in my email again for about 30 minutes. I go back on my email one more time at 6 p.m. I stay in for about 30 minutes. That's it. I don't go in 19 times. I don't go in 20 times because 3 times a day gives me adequate time to see what's in there, see what's new, and act appropriately. Otherwise, it's throwing me off. I time block my day, about 90 minutes each time block to do a task. Even if a task only takes me 30 minutes, I time block 90 minutes because I get distracted. But when you time block your day and then you schedule each day, not every day looks the same. I have a time block for everything I need to do for 7 days out the week. Can you believe that in that time, I got more things done? You have to become comfortable with your no. My grandmother says, baby, she starts every sentence with baby. Baby, if you want your yes to have more value, you need to learn how to exercise your no. See, your yes might not have its value anymore. Why? Because you give it away too much. You give it to too many people. You give it away too often. You're always overcommitting, and then you feel drained and frustrated, and you don't have gratitude in your heart because you're overcommitted. Well, that all started with a yes that should have been a no, or should have been a I'd love to, but not now. And so number 1 is more effective time management that has your agenda in it, that has your priorities in it. Right now, your agenda is covered with everyone else's task. I heard once, if you don't have your agenda, then you're gonna work for somebody else's agenda. And so number 1 is your time management with your agenda. And number 2 is operating, utilizing, and being comfortable in a no. And not an attitude no, not like a stank no, like no. Not that, just a no, not now. No, I would love to, but my plate is full. I'm free in 90 days. Just don't make, no energy, just not now. Don't be surprised when everyone comes to you. You're great, you're amazing, you're brilliant. Look at you, you're on this channel, so you know you're smart. You want a better life, you want an abundant life, of course you're here. Of course everyone wants you. And your priorities matter.
Rule number 14, leap afraid.
So when you talk about making your dash dance, point 1, you gotta be willing to do it afraid. See, you might be waiting for the fear to stop. Well, Lisa, I heard this so many times. Lisa, I'm afraid, what do? Do it anyway. Lisa, I'm afraid, I don't quite know if I should move. Move anyway. I don't know if I should leap. Leap afraid. And then gather your courage on the way down. And if you don't get it before you hit, you was gonna hit anyway. I'd rather die leaping than on the edge figuring out how to get the courage to leap. Yes, yes? Yes, yes? Yes, yes. So many times we're waiting. We're waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting to get something right. I see your hands going up. You guys know if it's your truth, you can raise your hand just like we did on day 0. You're just kind of waiting. You're waiting to get everything in order. You're waiting so that everything is in you, it's together. You're waiting to not be afraid. You're waiting to have the courage. You're waiting to have all the money. You're waiting to lose weight. See, if I waited to release my unwanted pounds before I got in front of you, Lisa Nichols would be the secret. Yes? I thought, how about I just leap with my imperfection and then find my form of perfecting my imperfection while I'm soaring? How about I do that? How about you not wait to get it right? You figure out, how does it look doing it wrong? How does that look? Because your 80% of right is somebody else's 159% of what they needed. Yes? And when you want to do it right and you want to wait till you're not afraid and you want to wait till you have it all together, you made it about you again. See, Nelson Mandela did it. He just did it not knowing if it were right. Mahatma Gandhi just did it not knowing if it were right. Mother Teresa just did it not looking for affirmation or confirmation. Is this right? Martin Luther King did it not even knowing if it would happen before his life ended. I mean, what are you waiting on? Are you willing to do it afraid? Are you willing to do it knowing that you got so much work to do to get it better, to get it more perfect? But are you willing to do it inside your imperfection? Do you realize that in your imperfection, you're perfect for the job?
Rule number 15, visualize.
Visualization is a gift to your heart and your soul. It's a gift. Because if the idea is the seed, visualization is the fertilizer. Mm-hmm. It's the fertilizer, because when your thoughts are connected with an emotion, see, you would visualize yourself winning and you would feel all the emotion that came with that. And all you're doing now is you're not chasing a foreign emotion. You know the feeling. And now you're just doing what's necessary to get back to that feeling in real time.
Exactly.
And so what a good friend of mine, Vishen, of the CEO of Mind Valley, who you know, I did a visualization with him. We were in Bali, and he said to me afterwards, I never get emotional.
He cried. He doesn't get emotional.
Right.
He's like
right.
super, yeah.
Well, he was like, I cried. I got emotional. He goes, I figured it out. It's visualization. A good visualization brings in emotion. He was like, that's how you do it. And so I love doing visualizations because, and it's real important in the visualization, you can't see it over there. You have to see it right here.
To feel it.
You got to feel it right here. Like I am. It's all I am. I am in my dream home. I am in my dream relationship. And then unpack what that looks like. But most importantly, unpack what it feels like. And when you have that emotion in this moment, all of a sudden you stir up something that I don't think will ever go back to sleep. It'll go, okay, let's go get that. And what it really does is it sets up a state of cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is when you see something in your mind and you see yourself in a way that your behaviors are not currently leading to it. So your mind becomes disrupted and it goes, okay, can we get there?
Right, because I'm not there right now.
I'm not there right now, and that's not comfortable. Your mind wants to literally be congruent. What it thinks is what you're doing. What it thinks is what you're doing. And so when you set up a constant, and abundant thinkers like you and I, we do it unconsciously. We're constantly keeping ourselves in a state of cognitive dissonance, meaning, okay, what else? And I'm seeing Lisa over there and I'm going, okay, let me go. While being grateful for my now.
Yeah.
It's not in that I'm going to be whole and complete when I get over there. I'm whole and complete now. I just know I'm supposed to be over there. So let me do what's necessary to get over there. And let me evict any behaviors or characteristics that are stopping me, and let me adopt any new ones that I need.
Rule number 16, define prosperity for yourself.
So when you ask the question, or when you look at the question, how do I create a life of prosperity when I haven't known it, when my family hasn't known it, when it's not what it's not what I was born into? You know, there are many people who were born into prosperity. I wasn't one, and you may or may not be one.
But how you transform a life or create a life of prosperity is, number one, you identify what does prosperity look like to you. Define prosperity by your own terms. And don't make it a global, universal answer. You want to define prosperity in each area of your life. I know that sounds like it's really detailed, but you cannot hit a moving target. You won't ever hit a moving target. So the more detail you get, the more the target slows down and you hit it.
Rule number 17, trust your intuition.
You know, when you want to learn how to trust your intuition more, you know, I say, and this is me and my walk and my belief system, that your intuition is your internal GPS system, your internal God placement system. It's that whisper, and sometimes it's that scream that tells you to leap or to be still. Your intuition is a combination of spirit, emotion, and logic, and it's guiding you. And so often we don't hear our intuition. Why don't we hear it? Because we're having too much chatter in our head. Like the chatter in our head, doubt, worry, judgment. Oh my God, judgment or fear of other people's perception of you. So your intuition is saying, I love to dance, I want to sing. Your intuition is saying, we can have a great time. Your intuition is saying, I want love. Your intuition is saying, gosh, let's go take that chance on that writing that book, or let's take that chance on starting that business. And then your chatter comes in. No, what if I fail? So let me explain this to you. Your mind, your brain is designed to keep you safe. It's designed, and it only has the ability to go back in time in the mental file cabinet and look at the last time you tried something like this, and it may not have been good, or it may have ended in some dangerous situations where people could judge you, and your brain is designed to protect you. That's it. Your brain's designed to protect you. It's logical. Your intuition is that spark of passion. It's that spark of desire. It's that spark of love. It's that spark of pull me forward. It's that little bit of radical. It's that lot of bit of I want to leave my fingerprint on this planet. Your brain isn't designed to have those same ideas now. Now, your intuition can kick the brain in, and the brain can start thinking of ways too, but the intuition is where it's going to start. It's in your gut. It's why when you feel something, you kind of go here. You don't go, oh, I feel so special. You don't say, I feel special here. You say, I feel it here. I feel it here. And so your job is not to turn down the doubt. Your job is to turn up the passion. It's to turn up the faith. It's to turn up the possibility. Now, still make well thought out plans. I always say the best plan is the plan made. I don't care if you have to upgrade it, you have to modify it, but if you fail to plan, then you've planned to fail. So every dream, every passion, every desire, follow it with a plan, because that's where your brain gets excited. Your brain goes, yeah, we got a plan now. Now you can believe yourself. See, you set big goals and dreams and you have desires, and then you don't achieve it, but you don't achieve it because you didn't set the plan in place. You didn't do the details, and then you stop believing you could do it. And then you do the biggest tragedy. You stop dreaming. You stop hoping. You stop stretching yourself. You stop listening to your GPS, your God placement system that says you've been put here on a divine assignment. And your assignment may change over years. Guess what? Your assignment you had 15 years ago may be very different from the assignment on your life today. Your job is to turn down the volume in your head. The volume of judgment, the volume of fear, the volume of worry, the volume of perfection. Turn down the volume in your head and turn up the volume in your intuition, in your solar plex, in that God placement system, in that heart space. Turn up the volume in that place that just says, what do I want? What? Ask yourself this tonight, today, tomorrow. What feels good to my soul? And then be still and be quiet.
Rule number 18, like yourself first.
To me, this is the road to true freedom. I have nothing to prove. Mm-hmm. I have nothing to protect. I have nothing to hide. And I have nothing to defend. That your perception of me after I tell my truth is actually none of my business. My perception of me, that I go to bed as whole and complete as I woke up. Before I check how many likes I have on Facebook, that I like me first. And every other like is bonus.
There you go.
Like it. That was a long road to get to. Long road.
Sure.
Long road.
Rule number 19, play big.
I get asked the question a lot, how do I jumpstart again when I've been complacent? You know, I found that I had to ask myself this question as well. For so many years, I was working hard to feed Jelani. I was working hard to give him an equal chance. I had this goal that by the time he was 18, I would have transformed our lives. And I ran hard for it and I worked hard for it. And by the time he was 18, our lives were completely transformed and barely recognizable. And I found that I had slowed down a bit, still running, but running at about 70%. And the challenge that you have to watch out for is that your 70% could be someone else's 115%, because you are such a game changer. So you can impress a lot of people never playing full out. And you can look up and a year has passed, 3 years has passed, 5 years have passed, and you haven't played full out for a while because you've already achieved a lot by some people's standards. But there's still so much more that you can do. I want to coach you in this way. Dream a dream or set a goal that's big enough to make you get nervous. Oftentimes, if you're not setting a goal that's beyond 3 years out in front of you, there's not enough to run for. So I want you to look at your goals. Can you achieve them in a year, 2 years? I want you to set a goal for 3 years, set a goal for 5 years, and set a goal for 10 years. Yes, I said 10 years. When I did this phenomenal program called Lifebook, they had me set 10-year goals, and I was so uncomfortable. I sat there silent for a moment. I hadn't thought 10 years out about my life. But if you go out far enough, 10, 5, 3, then all of a sudden you're playing for something so much bigger. And then set a goal that makes your knees knock and your teeth chatter a bit. If you know how to get to your goal, you're not dreaming big enough. Now, the goal also has to be realistic. So it has to be realistic, something you can do. If you're currently making $80,000, then your goal in 3 years isn't to make $500,000 unless you have a path that's viable to get you there. That's real. The thing that's really important to remember about a goal is that if you set lofty goals that you will never hit because they're not realistic in the first place, you have to set realistic goals. Doesn't mean you're not capable, doesn't mean that you don't believe in yourself, but realistic goals. If you set a bunch of unrealistic goals and you don't hit them, every time you don't hit a goal, you lose just a little bit of hope in yourself, a little bit of faith in yourself. And then what happens is you look up 5 years, 10 years from now, and you're not dreaming anymore. You're not setting goals anymore. You're afraid to tell anyone. So set a goal that makes your knees knock and your teeth chatter a bit. Set a goal that's 3 years out in front of you. Set one that's 5 years, and set one that's 10 years. As a matter of fact, set several in all those timelines. And then hook your caboose to the train of other people who are running as fast as you are. Surround yourself in a community that inspires you to want to stand on your tippy toes. They inspire you because they're doing so much. Now, they believe in values, they believe in faith, they believe in family, but they also believe in running hard, playing hard, and living big. Because if you're the biggest fish in your community, then that's okay. You just need to get a second community to play inside of as well. And so if you find yourself going, hold on, I've become complacent, walk out 15 years and go, do I want to look back in 15 years and this was the best that I did? The answer probably is no.
Rule number 20, live your quest.
When we talk about living our quest, I think that living my quest, really, if I look at it on a daily basis, it's finding my own voice. It's finding your voice. It's finding the song that only you can sing, off key or not. It's finding your rhythm. It's discovering what it feels like to walk in your shoes today. It won't look like it looked 10 years ago. Living your quest is, what can I do with my life so that my life becomes infectious to someone else? Living my quest looks like, how do I make my fingerprint matter so big that it lives beyond my transition day? Living your quest is, how can I forgive the perceivingly unforgivable so I can love the absolute lovable? Living your quest is how do I give myself 1,000 second chances? And every time I get to 999, press reset. Yeah. Living my quest is not some ambiguous, untouchable experience. Living my quest means going back and healing the little girl in me so that the woman can be free. It's going back and embracing the little boy in you so that the man can show up and give himself permission to cry when necessary. Living your quest is not something that you can't touch. It's not something that requires a stage or lights or cameras. Living your quest is being completely content with who you are in the dark of the night. So who you are in the middle of the day is all right. Living your quest is as simple as it is complex. Living your quest is about giving yourself permission, say permission, on a daily basis to become the next best version of yourself. Living your quest is not holding yourself hostage to old decisions, not holding yourself hostage to shame, blame, guilt, regret, and anger. Living your quest is about recognizing that every day I can be reborn to my possibility. See, living your quest is as internal and personal as it is public. Living your quest is about recognizing that you have brilliance in you and not being willing to dim your light one more day. Living your quest means not being afraid of the genius in you, even though you have doubt. Living your quest is recognizing that you get to sing your song off tune, that you can get to live in perfection while you master imperfection.
Rule number 21, shift your energy.
We spend so much time and energy trying to prevent ourselves from falling. We spend so much energy trying to prevent a failure. We spend so much energy making sure we're safe. And if we spent 70% of that energy exploring how we can soar, exploring how we can play bigger, exploring how we can make memories that we absolutely will be excited to tell when we're 85 years old sitting in our favorite rocking chair. If we spent 40%, 50% of that same energy, how would our lives look differently? I'm not saying be reckless. I'm not saying do it without a plan. What I am saying is so many times I get the question, how do I prevent failure? And I'd love for you to spend that same energy going, how could I ensure that I soar? How can I ensure that I live the life that I want to tell people about, that I write the story that's going to be really, really good to read? So number one is shift your energy on what you want to create versus what you want to prevent. Because energy grows where energy goes. If you've looked at several episodes, you've probably heard me say that before. Not because I've run out of content, but because I want to keep saying it. Because repetition is not the mother and father of learning. Repetition is the mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, and uncle, and second cousin of learning. So I'm going to keep telling you this, that energy grows where energy goes. So while we want to mitigate and reduce our risk of falling, reduce our risk of failure, we want to spend our dominant energy on creating possibility and what we want to run toward. Now, I say that from lessons learned, not just as a teacher, but because for many years in the early part of my career, unbeknownst to me, unconsciously, I wasn't running toward possibility. I was trying to outrun $11.42 in the bank like I had in 1994. And so I know that once I was able to get far enough away from that experience, I started losing motivation. I stopped running as fast. I didn't know it. I didn't know why. But it's because I knew I wasn't threatened by ever seeing $11.42 again. And then all my motivation was gone. I was nervous for about a year. I was still in motion, still, generating a lot of business, a lot of buzz, but internally, I wasn't driven the same way. Until I shifted my energy and said, what am I running toward? The first answer was, I don't know, because I've been trying to outrun something so long that I wasn't looking forward, really looking forward, like horizon forward, like up forward. I may have been looking at the next goal forward, the next target forward, but I wasn't looking at horizon, something so big, it would take me 10 years to get there. It would take me 15 years to get there. And so number one, let's create a big, bodacious, like yummy, in 5 years, I want to be here. In 10 years, I want to have this. Let's create something to run toward that makes your knees knock a bit and it stretches you. It doesn't stress you, it stretches you.
Rule number 22, live in alignment of your purpose.
I love the phrase willpower, but willpower isn't something you conjure up. Willpower isn't something you drink. Willpower isn't something you download from Google. What you're talking about is, how do I make the choices that are in alignment with my highest purpose and my highest vision for myself? That's what you really want to ask. See, your life is a physical manifestation of the choices that you made up until this moment. I'm gonna say that again because that gets a little deep. And that can go over some people's head. That can hit you sometimes right between the eyes, and you gotta hear it a second time. So here it goes. Your life, right now, as it exists today, your finances, your weight, your relationships, your career, your self-esteem, your self-image, your spiritual awareness, all of that is a result of the choices that you've made up until this moment, big and small. And just so you know, your life, the way it appears today, is not a result of a few big choices. Even though that's the thing that we look back on, we go, I shouldn't have moved out of the state. I shouldn't have got into that relationship. I shouldn't have. We look at the big things. Well, I'm here to disrupt that mindset a bit. Your life experience right now is not so much a result of your big choices, while those impact you. It's really a result of a bunch of small little choices made consistently over a long period of time. Because those are the habits and the behaviors that you've gotten into. So we can talk about willpower and how do I build willpower, as if it's something that you can flex in the gym or something you can do crunches or abs or triceps and build, but it's not. The question you should ask, the answer you should be seeking is, what does it take to make my choices become in alignment with the life that I say I want to live? Now, when you say choices, it makes it really sobering, because even when you choose to sit down on yourself, it was a choice. So I ask you in this moment, what will it take you to decide to make the choice today? Don't even think about tomorrow, don't think about next week, but to make the choice today that's in alignment with your health goals. Make a choice today that's in alignment with your financial goals. It's the small things. It's the extra visit to Starbucks. It's the extra biscuit. It's the getting up early. It's 10 more crunches. It's doing squats every time you go to the bathroom. At least that's what I do. I do 10. I do 10 every time I go to the restroom. I'm already there. I'm just going to keep on going just because I want to stay in alignment with my goal. And my goal is to have a body that at least creates a double take or a triple take, maybe. I don't know. I wanted to create a body that is in alignment with my goal. I want to be able to go paintballing with my nephews and my son the way I just did recently. I want to be able to go jet skiing. So when I look at my life and my lifestyle that I want to maintain, it requires me to hike a little longer. It requires me to eat more vegetables and protein. It requires me, my choice of how I want to live requires my alignment in what I put in my body or how I stay active in my body. So when I date, I don't do dinner dates. I'm not interested in doing dinner dates. You want to date me? Let's go on a hike. Let's go skating, ice skating, roller skating. Let's go on a walk. I want active dates in my dating experience because that's in alignment with my life's purpose. So, what are you choosing? Let's not even look at willpower. Let's look at choices. Because choice is something you can control in every single moment. And the choice you made yesterday, if it wasn't in alignment with your greatest goal and your highest purpose, okay, yesterday is yesterday. Make a new choice today. You're not ever condemned or sentenced to making the same choice over and over and over again. Every day, every moment, you have a new opportunity to make a new choice.
Rule number 23, stay in the moment.
You know, as an entrepreneur, there's so many years where I worked the day away, the night away, but way beyond working the day and the night away. I worked memories away. I worked parts of my life away. I worked sacred moments away. I want to warn you,
I want to warn you about working so hard to create an amazing future that you miss a million nows. So busy creating that future where your children or your family or your parents or your significant other will have everything they want. In the moment, you're robbing them from the one thing they need. Your time. I know that our intentions are good, and I say ours because I'm right there with you. I would grind every day in my walk-in closet. I transformed my walk-in closet into my office. I would walk my son to school, come back, put my head down, my elbows up, and I would come up for air just enough to walk to school, pick him up, bring him back, fix him a fast lunch. I go back down, and then I come back up at dinner time. And then I go back down. And I did it for year after year after year after year. And I looked up and I forgot the things I like. I forgot the excursions that I want to go on. I forgot my favorite food, because my favorite food was whatever was fastest and quickest and can get me back to work. I thought that the sacrifice was okay, that it's okay to sacrifice at this level. And while there is a necessary sacrifice, there is a necessary level of inconvenience, there also is a required and, by all means, a desired amount of memories that you want to make sure you make now. I wrote my book, Abundance Now, and I remember having conversations with the publishers and others about the now, because whether it was Abundant Life or Abundance and Prosperity or Abundance Beyond the Secret, another title, it was important for me to write Abundance Now, because there's nothing more valuable than your now. So yes, I'm going to encourage you to work hard. I'm going to encourage you to grind. But I'm going to remind you that when you're sitting in your rocking chair and there's nothing else for you to do, you have played full out. You've made all the money you're going to make. You've bought all the properties you're going to buy. You've done all the business you can do, and you've attended all the meetings there are to attend. And all that's left to do now is to sit inside your memories. You're going to want to have a lot of really great memories.
Rule number 24, don't live under the label.
So often we wear labels. There's a label that's, to me, there's several labels. I'm an African-American woman. I'm a single mom. I'm a CEO. I'm a daughter. There's so many labels to me, but I don't live under the label. I allow the label to exist, but it doesn't define me. And so I invite you, if you're a woman, there's so many men watching my channel. I love you. I want you to always come. You're always welcome. This is your home. But to my sisters, I invite you, don't feel like life is harder for you because you're a woman. Don't feel like you have to work harder because you're a woman. Work hard. Just work hard. I never looked at, am I working harder as a woman? Am I working harder as a Black person? Now, are there inequities? Absolutely. I am not blind to that. But like I said in the previous episode, energy grows where energy goes. Am I going to give the inequities energy, or am I going to give the possibility energy? And I'm not saying that everything's hunky-dory and all things are right. No, there's some wrongs that really need to be corrected. But here's what I won't do. I won't wear a label and walk in a room living under that label, wondering how you're going to treat me because of that label. People used to ask, Lisa, how did you get on the main stage with people like Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield and people like, they rattle off all these older white men or very successful white speakers in the industry. And they say, how'd you get on stage with them as a Black woman? Or how'd you get on stage with them as a woman? And I go, I didn't get on stage with them as a woman. I got on stage with them as a badass speaker. I got on stage with them as someone who can bring value to the audience. I got on stage with them because I'm a change agent. So can you live through the results that you produce in the world? Can you allow that to define you? Like, this is the bag that you were given, a woman, a man, Black, white, Indian, Asian, the religion you were born into, the economic status you grew up under. All of those things are boxes that someone else said, let's drop you in it. And then you had to choose if you're gonna stay in it. I am too big to be defined by a box, any label of any size. Why don't you join that? So don't be successful as a woman, be successful. Don't be successful as a man, be successful. Don't be loving and giving as a black person or white person or Asian person, be loving and giving. Just be. And then become contagious for someone else to want to be that way because they crossed your path.
Rule number 25, do what you love to do.
So many times we've become so dutiful, working and being diligent and being responsible and being on point that we forgot to do the things that bring us joy. You know, as I was developing my business, I thought I was doing the thing that I love the most, which was transforming lives and talking to teens, inspiring adults. But I forgot that I love to dance. I forgot that I love to hang out. I forgot that I love to date. I forgot about so many things. So I traded one love for all these other little things. And I was being responsible as a mom, responsible as a business owner, responsible as a daughter. And yet my norm had become filled with all the dutiful things in my life and not the things that necessarily brought me the most joy. While my family brings me great joy, my work brings me great joy, there was a part of me that was slowly dying away just because it was unfed. So let's make a list of what do you love to do? What do you love to do? And then let's set an intention that don't try to do it all the time. I think we go to the extremes. Once a week, I'm gonna do this. Or you can't go from 0 to once a week, but start from 0 from once a month. And so your norm is whatever you decided to be. You are the designer of your destiny, and you are the author of your autobiography. And no one can write your story but you. Life isn't happening to you. You're co-creating. You are the main character. You wrote the screenplay. This is your life. And how you look at it and the lenses that you look at your life through has everything to do with how much you enjoy it or not.
Rule number 26, give yourself permission to fail.
So often, you don't move forward because you're keeping such score from what didn't work in the past. You are holding yourself hostage to 1997 to 2005. You're holding yourself hostage in love to that past relationship that didn't work. Or you're holding yourself in hostage in business to the money that you may have thought you wasted or the deal that went bad. And so one of the ways that I give myself permission on two levels. Permission to have lived a life that has some beautiful experiences and some really tangy lessons. I mean, they're spicy, they hurt, they're painful. When I give myself permission to have had that, I also give myself permission to keep leaping. Give myself permission to keep dreaming. Give myself permission to keep learning how to get it right, learning how to love the unlovable, forgive what seems to be the unforgivable, to leap again. Even while I still have a bandage on my chin from the last time I fell, I still get to leap. So I want to invite you, if you fall, fall. Catch your breath, put a bandage on it. Whether you fail financially, you fail physically with health and wellness, you fail spiritually, you fail emotionally, you failed in a relationship, okay. A part of flying is understanding what the distinction between flying and falling. And the only way you understand the distinction is that you experience full life. When you experience full life, it's like this. Life isn't just flat line, it's not just like this. You make your heights feel better because you understand this was a failure. And what I mean by a failure is this taught me a lesson, this stung, every single failure has a lesson in it. To me, a failure is a lesson wrapped in some sticky, icky paper that stung, that hurt. And so give yourself permission to play big, to be nervous, to fall down, to sit down for a minute. Just don't take up real estate in the sitting down. Don't take up real estate in the analyzing. Don't take up real estate in the preparation. You've been getting prepared for a long time for something. Trust that you'll either fly if you leap right now, or you'll fall if you leap right now. And if you fly, you'll understand what soaring feels like. And if you fall, you'll understand what getting up feels like. Either way, you're okay. That's how I play big. With my knees knocking. That's how I play big, even when there's something in my consciousness reminding me of the last time I did something like this and it didn't quite work out, and I still play big.
because I constantly give myself permission to totally win and soar or totally fall and get up. And that way, there's nothing to truly be afraid of. Remember, this is a dialogue, not a monologue, which means we're in a dynamic conversation versus me just entertaining you.
Rule number 27, ask better questions.
You know, I've worked with thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, and trust is always at the top of the list. Coach, show me how to trust again. Coach, what happens when I've been betrayed? Coach, show me how to trust myself again. Trust is a gift. And when our trust is violated by any form, we feel like a little bit of it's been chipped away. But here's what I want to let you know. Trust is something that can be restored. And trust is something that people can earn. And trust is something that you have enough of. It always hurts my heart when I hear someone say, I don't trust. I don't trust. Because what I know is you're not trusting your future, something or someone in your future, because of something that happened in your past. And in so many ways, you're making your next pay for your ex, you're making your future pay for your past, you're making that unexperienced moment pay for that past experience. Who more deserves to be loved and honored and celebrated to full capacity than you? And if you don't stick your feet fully in, then you can't fully feel submerged in the possibility. Is there a chance that this person that you're in this relationship with now, this friendship with now, this business appointment with now, this community relationship with now, is there a chance that they may not play full out and honor you? Yes. But here's what I know you don't want to do. You don't want to have a life of saying, I played halfway, I stuck my toe in instead of jumping in. So you want to do your due diligence. One of the things I learned from my years of living, trusting, being betrayed, hurting, crying, praying, laughing, getting back up, and being committed to love again, trust again, was that any time that I felt betrayed, any time that I felt like someone didn't honor me, there was a part that I played in that experience. There was a better question that I could have asked sooner. There was a clear line that I could have drawn way deeper in the sand. There was a notice of intuition, or there was a tap on the shoulder that the alarm clock was going off. There was something that I could have seen, said, or done, that I was a viable part of this equation. Now, I own the part that's mine, and I own the part that's not mine. But how I bring that forward, and how I recommend you bring it forward, is ask better questions now. You're not the same person you were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You're not the same person you were last year. Ask a better question, and you'll get a better answer.
Rule number 28, have a no matter what attitude.
It began to shift for me when I moved from optional to non-negotiable. When I moved from I really, really want this to hold on. This is non-negotiable. It's time for me to move from I'd like it to happen to no matter what. It has to happen. No matter what, Jelani has to have the type of opportunities that normally an African-American male child from South Central LA whose father went to prison when he was 8 months old wouldn't have. See, I had to become non-negotiable that Jelani has a breathtaking future. I had to become non-negotiable and say no matter what, that I was gonna get off government's assistance. And not only was I gonna get off government's assistance, that I was gonna create a healthy lifestyle around money, finances, and fiscal success and responsibility. I had to say no matter what around creating the life that I love, where I can travel the world and inspire people. I had to say no matter what around keeping my family intact and keeping my relationships intact while I did that. I had to say no matter what around my health and my wellness and bringing back physical prosperity to my life and to my body. Nothing happened until I went from optional to non-negotiable to no matter what. When I came to no matter what, that's when the mountain, if it was in front of me, it had to bow down, it had to move. And so I believe that you're in the exact same place, that as you move into next year, you're at a no matter what time. You're at a non-negotiable time. You're at a move every other option off the table.
Rule number 29, fake it until you make it.
You know, the whole fake it till you make it. Well, I don't want to fake it forever. I have no interest in faking it forever. But I do want to play like I'm courageous enough until my courage appears. I want to pretend like I'm not afraid until I'm not afraid. I want to fake like I know how to do this business. I know how to surrender to this love, and while pursuing the ability to know how to do this business. Pursue the understanding of knowing how to surrender to love. I don't think there's a place in your life that when you're playing bigger than you've played before, that you won't feel nervous, you won't feel a little afraid, and at times you won't have a sense of the imposter syndrome. What if you're not an imposter in the career you're in? You're not an imposter in the relationship. You're not an imposter in the entrepreneurial business. What if you're just learning? What if you visualize the 7-foot tall you and the 5'8", 6'1", 6'2", 5'2" version of you is still tiptoeing to grow to that individual?
Rule number 30, elevate your action.
You are not a victim to anything. There is not something that's been bestowed upon your family that generationally has to occur over and over and over again. There are habits, there are awareness, and there are actions. And when you change your habits, expand your awareness, and elevate your action, you can change a curse into a blessing.
Rule number 31, take baby steps.
You're gonna play big, say big. Big. You're gonna play huge, say huge. Huge. You're gonna play ginormous, say ginormous. Ginormous. But first, take baby steps. You're gonna eat the elephant, but take one small bite first, chew it good. Right? We want so much so fast. My grandmother says baby, she starts every sentence with baby. I'm sure it's because she cannot remember all of our names. She said, baby, the best things you'll ever have from grandma will never come from the microwave. They always come from the oven. And I was like, I think somehow she's trying to give me a lesson here. And I realized that the best things that you're gonna create are gonna take time. Build it on cement, not sinking sand. You're gonna get tons and tons and tons of tools here. And you're gonna wanna fast forward. When you fast forward, you build it on plexiglass, you build it on styrofoam, you build it on wood, you wanna build it on cement. Your dream is important enough to outlive you. Yes, yes? Yes, yes. And so I realized that you can't Google download resiliency. You can't Google download tenacity. You can't Google download forgiveness. There are some of the best qualities and characteristics that's going to take you a long way that you need to invest time in and energy in and intention in. You don't just get patience. I want patience. I'm waiting for patience. Somebody's going to piss you off tomorrow. And now you get to test if you have patience. I realized that as I wanted to develop me, I had to be willing to climb, and I wanted to get to the top, and there's no elevator to the top. I gotta do my squats. I gotta work on my quads and my hamstrings and my calves because I gotta climb to the top. We gotta climb.
Rule number 32, change your relationship with fear.
So many people look at fear or even doubt, but they look at fear as if it's the emotional enemy. You know, it's the enemy emotion. Like, oh, I can deal with compassion. I can deal with love. I can deal with understanding. But when fear comes, oh my God, bad thing. No, first of all, change your relationship to fear. I've said this before. Fear is not the enemy. The feeling of fear is just like any other emotion. Fear is actually informing you. Fear is telling you that you need to do something. Either do more research, get some support, get some insight, study a little more, slow down. Fear is actually feeding you. So then ask yourself the question, what do I need to do, think, or go get to dissipate this fear? Because remember, fear becomes present when you've made up something that could happen in the future.
And it makes you afraid right now. Like, oh my God, I'm afraid I can get hurt in this relationship. Oh my God, I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my money. You're just projecting a story that you made up. Then back into that fear and go, okay, wait, then what do I need to do to minimize the fear that I might get hurt? What do I need to do to minimize the fear that I might lose my money? What do I need to do? Of course, you can't 100% eliminate the possibility, but you can greatly reduce the chances by asking, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid that's gonna happen? And then secondly, recognize that fear doesn't mean stop. People think, oh, I'm afraid, let me stop. Okay, that's a choice to stop. Fear doesn't necessarily mean stop. Fear might mean proceed with caution or proceed with more strategy. Fear doesn't, whenever I'm feeling fear, it doesn't tell me this. I don't even think now to stop with the fear. I do think to slow down, go get some help, go get some insight, voice my fear so that it's not just all in my head. Recognize that fear is going to come in when you're playing bigger than you've ever played before. I say if your knees aren't knocking and your teeth aren't chattering just a little at least, then you're not playing big enough. The bigger you play, the more you're gonna feel your knees knock and you're gonna hear your teeth chatter. And I'm always playing big. I'm always feeling my knees knock and I'm always hearing my teeth chatter. But I've created a relationship with that fear to go, hold on. Let's say fear's right here. Fear, what are you telling me? Because fear really is, it's a story. It's something you think could happen. And could it happen? Yeah. But could it not happen? Yeah. So don't try to outrun fear. Don't try to outrun doubt. And definitely don't wait until doubt and fear are gone before you move. Find out what doubt and fear needs to dissipate into the nothingness that it always was. What does it need? And then understand that action brings clarity. So the more you move forward, the more action you're in, the more clarity you get because action breeds clarity. And clarity comes with action. So many times you're sitting on the sideline waiting to get completely clear before you take any action. And clarity is waiting for you to get in action to create clarity. So be willing to play full out, a little nervous.
Rule number 33, accept yourself.
I remember there was a time in my life when all I wanted was for people to accept me. But I realized that I needed them to accept me and love me because I wasn't really accepting Lisa. I wasn't really loving Lisa to my fullest. So while today I don't invite you to not care if people reject you, I am inviting you to, if you fully love and show up for you first, then you're less impacted, you're less disrupted when someone doesn't embrace you the way you believe you should be embraced. See, I realize that we're iron for others, iron sharpens iron. We're also triggers for others. There's 1,000 reasons why someone might reject you. My grandmother says, man's rejection is God's protection. So not everyone that's in your space should be in your space. And sometimes people have to opt out on your behalf to help you out. How many times have you been in a friendship or relationship and it ended? And maybe not immediately after it ended, but somewhere in the next 30, 60, 90 days, a year, maybe 2 years, you took a deep breath. I actually feel more relief that relationship has transitioned. Whether it's a relationship with a job, a friend, an ex, whatever. So while we don't want to have rejection in our life, I say all rejection isn't bad. And sometimes it's not rejection, it's simply transition. It's simply completion. You know, I realized that I wanted everyone to love me. But when I began to love Lisa, I stopped having to manage or having the desire to manage how other people like me. Your job is to wake up each day and like you.
Rule number 34, be in a state of cognitive dissonance.
Abundant thinkers keep themselves in a constant state of cognitive dissonance. Write that down. Abundant thinkers keep themselves in a constant state of cognitive dissonance. You're creative, spell it any way you want. Now, what is cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance is when you have literally thought about a version of yourself that you're not currently living right now. Meaning the thought that you have of yourself, your behaviors are not congruent with. So your mind becomes disrupted. Your mind says, wait a minute, you're seeing me here, but my behaviors aren't here. And when you keep yourself in a constant state, your mind begins to influence your behaviors to be congruent with your thought. Ooh, next level. Cognitive dissonance. Abundant thinkers. That's why he went out to the ocean. That's why he's up on stage, because constantly seeing himself further than what his behaviors want to really do. And then when he does it, now I got that down. Constantly. Now it's being grateful for your now. Yes, yes? Yes. Being grateful for your now, but clearly seeing where you're going and not resting until you get there.
Rule number 35, practice gratitude.
I start every day with 25 things that I'm grateful for. And all 25 things have to cost $25 or less. So I can't be grateful for my car, grateful for my home. While I can be grateful during this exercise, I'm grateful for the time that I spent cooking in the kitchen with my son this weekend. I'm grateful for the walks that my grandmother takes me on. I used to say I take her on walks. Then I realized she was educating me, that she takes me on walks. I'm grateful for the fact that I still dance with my daddy. I'm grateful for the moments my nephew climbs in my bed so we can watch our latest, greatest movie together. I'm grateful for Mustard Man and Garlic Girl in the kitchen cooking. That's my son and I. Every single thing that I find gratitude for is something that helps to make me who I am. And I gotta tell you, something happens when you live, park, and stay cemented in gratitude. I call that if your dream is the seed, then gratitude is the fertilizer. And so gratitude, constant gratitude, recognizing that you are a servant leader with a servant's heart. And when you say the word servant and ego just don't go together. Servant is to serve, but not a servant from a peasant mindset, but a servant from the place where you say, I choose to lead from behind. I choose to use my greatness and my light to elevate you. I choose to own my light, but hand it over to anyone who might need it in the moment. Oh, if you stay rooted in that, it's a daily thing. So I recommend that you find a daily regimen that keeps you steeped in gratitude, a daily regimen that has you own your greatness. Whether it's the reminder of the things I've just said, write the mantras out, post them on your mirror, and recite them each day. I live by mantras. I live by affirmations. I designed and began to own who I was as a woman because I kept reminding myself daily who I could become. And then one day I went to remind myself and it stuck. I didn't need the reminder. And so I started reminding myself of something else. And I kept doing that daily. And then one day I went to remind myself and it stuck. And so remind yourself of the woman, the man you're becoming. Write it down, write the mantra down. I am a servant leader, grateful for service. I own my brilliance unapologetically. I walk in a room and light it up with a natural glow. I share my light with others with grace and ease. You can choose any of these mantras. You can have them all.
Rule number 36, recognize the cost of your actions.
So many times people look at the habits that they have, such as procrastination, and ask, why do I procrastinate? Well, I pose that question back to you. Ask yourself, what's the benefit? Because there's a benefit that you're getting out of it. So whether you believe that last minute throws you inside of an energy source, because that's what I used to think. I used to think, oh, last minute, I'm more creative. Well, the truth is you're not more creative last minute. The truth is that when you wait till the last minute, you're increasing your stress level, you're bringing down your joy, you're eliminating peace of mind. When you understand the cost, procrastination is a word, and the challenge is that procrastination is so universally accepted. It's like fear and stress. Like, I'm so stressed out, and it's become such our norm that it's okay. Well, ask yourself the question, what's the price that I pay? Because I believe any behavior that you don't want any longer, The way that the catalyst to change is recognizing the price. Because we're high producers, we can still get it done inside of procrastinating. We can still get it done. But if you ever take a moment to stop and ask yourself and answer, what's the cost of me procrastinating? And you can do that for everything, but we're focused on procrastination now. What's the cost of me procrastinating? Let's go down that list. When you procrastinate, it costs you clear organizational time because now you're rushing. When you procrastinate, it costs you peace of mind. When you procrastinate, you're now thrown in urgency. Urgency increases your stress. Urgency is known to increase your stress. If you live in urgency, you literally are 2-3 times more likely to have a heart attack, I hear. Not confirmed, but that's what I heard. So if you live in this space of urgency all the time because of a behavior that you can modify, think about it. How are we forward moving, upwardly mobile? How are we brilliant and operating in something we can control? There's so many things that you can't control. Procrastination is something that you can control.
Rule number 37, have patience.
Patience is that thing that, all of us want, but we don't know how to get the patience to get it. It's that gift and that character that's only developed in the discomfort of the act of patience itself. I'm gonna share a couple of stories with you because I have had more bouts with being impatient than anything. To the point now that I think one of the characters that's the most developed in me is the character of patience. I recognize that if not now, it will happen. But my now does not mean never. My now means when it's supposed to happen, and my job is to stay in action. I was sitting in the van on my way to a good friend's house. I was sitting in the van with many other teachers from The Secret way back in 2008. And many, many things were happening and a lot of success was going on, but I was still struggling. So on the outside, I had notoriety. I was in The Secret. We had been on Oprah and so many things were happening. But on the inside, personally, I was still trying to figure out how to pay my car note. I was still trying to figure out how to, take care of my son while I'm on the road. I still had all these challenges that really did not make me feel like I was successful. And I felt like I couldn't work another hour of the day. I couldn't put forth any more energy. I couldn't do anything else. And I've been doing it so long. I've been grinding so long. You might know what that looks like. I was sitting in the van on my way to John Gray's house. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, a good friend of mine. And it was so many of us in the van. And I remember looking over at my friend, John Assaraf. And I said, John, why does it have to be so hard? Why is it taking so long? I feel like I've been at this forever and I don't see any results. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I feel like I'm about to lose faith in this dream. And John turned to me and he said something that just shifted everything for me, and I hope it does the same for you. He looked at me and he said, Lisa, you cannot plant your seeds and reap your harvest in the same season.
Rule number 38, enhance your enrichment.
You are only gonna go as far as you think you're worthy. I can push, you can have the greatest product. But if you don't feel worthy, you will work hard to sabotage that relationship. You don't know you're doing it. Right. You don't know you're doing it. You just think these are the things I need. And you're driving that guy away. You're driving that woman away because your self-worth says they weren't going to stay forever anyway. Or self-worth around money. You have a cap that you feel like you're worthy of $1 million, you will always get to 999,000 and you will stop because your self-worth says it.
What's a good exercise or process that we can follow on a daily basis, maybe something simple, to enhance our enrichment and worthiness?
Absolutely. I did this for 6 months, every single day right after I brushed my teeth. And it's the I see you exercise. And you get in the mirror now. It's not necessarily simple because you're dealing with yourself.
Of course.
And as complicated as you are, will be the degree
of the mechanics of it are simple.
The mechanics are very simple. Yes, I appreciate that distinction. You get in the mirror and you complete 3 different sentences. You want to write this down. The first sentence, you look at yourself and you say your name. So you say Lewis and you complete this as I'm proud that you. And find 7 different things every day to celebrate yourself for. 7 different. Each day you can do the same thing you did the day before, but each day do 7 different things to be proud of. The second sentence is going to knock you down a little bit. It's going to come from your gut. Lewis,
I forgive you for. And cut the shackles to blame, shame, guilt, regret, and anger. In that sentence, you cut those 5 shackles. Not the first day, maybe not the 3rd day, but by the 21st day, by the 13th day, you'll feel some relief. So, Lewis, I forgive you for. And go back 5 years, 15 years, 20 years. Do that. Forgive you for that thing don't nobody know about but you. Go ahead and cut those shackles. Because if you can still think about it, it's still in your energy space.
Yeah.
And then the 3rd sentence is, Lewis, I commit to you that. Before you make a commitment to anybody else throughout your day, you make 7 commitments to you. So the first sentence is, I'm proud that you're celebrating yourself first. We are under-celebrated as a society. We look for acknowledgement. They interviewed 100 executives that all made over $250,000 and said, would you like a 5% raise next year, or would you rather be told thank you more often? 100% said, keep your money. I'd rather hear thank you. So we're under-celebrated. But first, celebrate you.
Yeah.
Be the example. When I was on Oprah, when she said, what do you do? I said, I recognize that I'm the example of how the rest of the world is supposed to treat me. And it's my job to give the world the best example of how I like to be treated.
Right.
So celebrate yourself, forgive yourself, cut the shackles, and then commit to yourself before you commit to anyone else. That right there,
Powerful.
that right there will begin to fill your cup up to get to your saucer.
I love that.
Rule number 39, exercise your no.
Our desire to say yes to everyone really is less about them and more about our need to be approved, our need to be perceived loving, kind, and generous. Now, I know that might be hard to hear, but when you don't have the ability to say no, it really isn't about the people that you're saying no to. It's about you not wanting to draw a healthy boundary, not wanting to turn someone away, not wanting to risk the fact that you might not make someone happy with you in the moment. Go underneath that and say, why am I having that challenge? The answer to that is the core of why you don't want to say no. Because I want to be liked and loved all the time. Because I don't want to experience rejection. Because I want people to see me as a giving, loving person. Because. Now, none of those are wrong. But can you already know that about yourself? And if you know you're loving, if you know you're kind, if you know you're giving, if you know that you're generous, then you can say healthy yeses when you need to say yes. And you can say a healthy no when you need to say no. My grandmother says, if you want your yes to have the most value possible, then sweetie, you need to learn how to exercise your no. Because if you keep telling everyone yes, you actually diminish the value of your yes. Because I'm not grateful that you said yes. As a matter of fact, I expected you to say yes. Why? Because you always say yes.
Rule number 40, fund your dream.
In that year when I was really broken, I was working at LA Unified School District. I was miserable. Because I wasn't living in my dream. I was just doing a job. And then one day I said, well, what do I need to do? I need to buy my freedom. That's what I need to do. I need to buy my freedom. Well, I don't know about buying my freedom. I don't know about having money saved up. My family didn't have money saved up. My mother used to tell me, oh, this money is burning my pocket. So I know 2 things about money. It's hot and we can't keep it long. We'd always have 1 week where we had all the food in the refrigerator, and then 1 week where the refrigerator was empty. Right? Come on. Some of you guys know about that. To this day, I spend so much money on groceries. You guys, oh my God, it's like I'm feeding like a family of 10. Because I'm so afraid of anybody ever being at my house and being hungry. Right? And so I wrote a check to myself. Jelani was 3. $110. I took it to the bank, Wells Fargo. I started a new account. The next check I wrote, $125. And just like the first check, I put in the memo line, funding my dream. I wasn't even clear what the dream was. But I knew there was something in my belly. Who in this room know you got something in your belly? It's something here. I'm not even clear about it. I don't know how clear you are, but I wasn't clear about it. But I knew there was a calling on my life greater than working for LA Unified School District. And no disrespect to LA Unified School District. It just wasn't my destiny.
I wrote another check in 2 weeks, $146, funding my dream. Now I started mailing the checks in because I didn't want to see my balance, because I didn't want to go shopping. Because you're going to repeat what you learn, right? Until you decide to not repeat what you've learned. So I mailed the check in, and then I wrote another check, and I wrote another check. And every check I wrote, I made sure it was 5% more than the first check, the previous check. I sold my Altima. I had a car note. Sold my Altima, bought a clunker because it didn't have a car note. Now I can write a bigger check, funding my dream. I moved out of my 3-bedroom, 3-bath house and moved in, became a roommate with my friend who smoked. I put towels at the base of the door so the smoke wouldn't come through the door. I was willing to be inconvenienced, are you? Yes. I'm just saying, I'm just showing you the story the charge I just gave you. I stopped getting my hair done. That was when I started going natural. I stopped going out. I stopped going out dancing. I stopped going out to dinners. My family didn't know what was going on. They thought, oh my God, it's LA. She's on drugs, but she's not losing weight, so maybe not. I don't know what's going on. I kept writing bigger checks to myself. $900. $900. I mailed it to Wells Fargo, funding my dream. $1,100. Mailed it to Wells Fargo, funding my dream. I still wasn't clear what the dream was. I just knew I had one, and it was being born through me, and I needed to give it a chance. That's all I knew. You don't have to see 2,000 feet in front of you. Just see 200 and run to the 200. Yes. You don't have to see it all. 3.5 years later, I'd written a check to myself every 2 weeks for 3.5 years. I didn't go out for 3.5 years. I didn't go dancing. I didn't get my hair done. I didn't get my nails done for 3.5 years. Are you willing to be inconvenienced for your conviction? I walk in to Wells Fargo 3.5 years later, and I said, hi, God bless you. Hi. My name is Lisa Nichols. She goes, oh my God, you're the funding my dream lady. I was like, yeah, I guess I am. And all of a sudden, all the tellers came running around. The manager came, they're like, oh my God, okay, oh my God, we have been wondering. We all got the same question. Y'all know what the question is, right? What's your dream? I was like, I'm not sure. But I know that it includes inspiring people, having people believe in themselves again, teaching them how to get back up when they've been knocked down, having them to be willing to give themselves 1,000 second chances. And every time they get to 999, press reset. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but it's just going to help people. I said, I came to check my balance. I've been writing a few checks to you guys. They say, yes, you've been writing a lot. I said, I just want to check my balance. They said, you don't know your balance? I said, no, I got this really big stack of summary bank statements at home because my mama said money burns her pocket, and I don't want it to burn my pocket. I want it to pay for my freedom. I said, I just came to see what my balance was, if I had enough to fund my dream as it gets clearer. She wrote it down. Everyone's excited. She wrote it down, turned it around to me. I looked at it. I said, oh no, my name is Lisa Shantae Nichols, and my Social Security number, I said, that is not my money, and I am not taking that money because you're probably going to want it back, so just fix that error right now. And they looked at me. They said, you really don't think that's yours? I said, no, my family's never had $5,000 in the bank or $10,000 in the bank. That's $62,500 in the bank. They said, Miss Nichols, and everyone teared up. The manager teared up, the tellers teared up. They said, Miss Nichols, whatever your dream is, I think you can fund it now. I looked at my son, Jelani, who now is 5 or 6, and I said, Jelani, our lives are gonna be a little different now, baby. Jelani said, yeah, Mommy, can we now go to McDonald's? See, for 3 years I've been telling Jelani, I'll make you a Big Mac. Mama makes Big Macs better than McDonald's. And so it began with a $110 check. So I don't know what yours is. I don't know what your radical looks like. For some of you, your radical was coming here, right? Yes, yes? Yes. And this is the beginning. Yes, yes. This is the beginning of your radical. This is the next best step. This is the first step. And so I just stopped by to let you know you're on the right path. And as you ramp up, you're going to have questions. You're going to be afraid. I do more things afraid now than I do fearless. Because the bigger you play, the bigger your breakdowns. Every single one of my errors in the last 5 years have cost me 6 figures. Like every single one. Every single one of my errors has required me to call an attorney. Like they're just big, because I'm playing big. I'm playing big, so be willing to go to the edge. And this is where you are here. Be willing to go to the edge and not just lean over and feel the breeze and watch the people jump and watch them soar and look through the windows at all the people who are living great lives. Don't just go to the edge and feel it. Be willing to lean. Feel your heartbeat. Feel it. That lets you know you're alive. That lets you know you're okay. Fear fuels you. Fear lets you know, go get more information. Fear lets you know, stay up a little later and study. Fear lets you know, get up a little earlier. Fear lets you know, ask for help. Fear is informing you. It's not stopping you. It's just another emotion like love and compassion and gratitude. We just made it paralyze us. See, fear doesn't stop me. Fear informs me. And when you get intimately connected with the fear, I feel it. And I'm moving forward anyway. I feel it. And I'm going to love anyway. I feel it. And I'm going to invest in me anyway. I feel it. And I'm going to show up and play anyway. When you get connected with fear, it becomes your best friend. And when you stand on the edge, you feel the breeze. You feel the fear. And you leap anyway.
Rule number 41, be non-negotiable.
I wasn't supposed to be here by many people's standards. I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't qualified to be here. See, I was that woman on government's assistance in 1994. I was that woman on WIC, Women, Infant, and Children, in 1994. I was that woman that couldn't afford to put Pampers on my son, so I wrapped him in a towel for 2 days in 1995. I'm that woman. So what would get me to being a best-selling author times 7 books, running a multi-million-dollar company, having my company go public 2 years ago, and going from Wayfair to Wall Street? It would simply be being non-negotiable. So I just stopped by to check in if you're willing to be non-negotiable. Yes, yes. If you're willing to stop asking the world for permission to be amazing, to be brilliant, to be divine. Stop asking the world for permission and begin today to give the world notice. See, Ajit says something's going to happen to you while you're here. And I love that. Have an expectation on your life. You didn't come here for them to do you. Okay, Ajit, I'm here, do me. No, this is your life. Your opportunity. You're brilliant. See, the doors have been open and now you dance to your rhythm, sing to your song, you play to your tune. And all you need to do is pick up a little bit here and pick up a little bit there and then take radical action and become non-negotiable. Abundant thinkers live in non-negotiable. Average thinkers live in optional. Average thinkers live, I really would love to have a new business, but your behaviors are not congruent with what you say you would love. When you move from optional to non-negotiable, you've slid every other option off the table. I was interviewed 155 times in 5 months. And the number one question I was asked was, Lisa, how did you go from public assistance to going public? How did you go from welfare to Wall Street? How did you build a multi-million-dollar business? How did you do it? And I said, I just slid every other option off the table. Like I really did. I slid every other option off the table. There was no other option. Burn the ship. Burn the ships. Don't go back. There was no other option. I didn't even have a plan B. It's A, capital A, or baby damn A. But it's A. It's now or later, but I'm gonna get it. Once you get to that place, something happens. The universe aligns with you because you're so intentional.
Rule number 42, ignore what others think.
So many people ask me on so many different platforms, how do I find the courage to ... As if courage is something outside of you. You don't look under the pillow at home. You don't look under your bed. You don't look in the glove compartment of your car and go find courage. So let me just start off with saying you don't find courage. You cannot find courage. You choose to not allow the fear to manage your choices. So I know that sounds like that's just like want, Lisa, but I'm gonna always tell you the truth. If I told you how to find something, that means that you don't have it already. I'm not gonna tell you how to find something that's not lost. The reality is when you are more consumed with other people's perception of you than you are with your own truth, you will always feel like you're not enough. You will always feel like you're not enough because no matter how far you come, no matter how far you go, someone will always believe that there's further that you can go, which they're true. It's truth. So how do you manage, or how do you have the courage to have transformation without getting consumed with other people's thoughts of you, perception of you? You become more committed to your own transformation than you are to managing people's perception of your life. You become more committed to the joy that's your birthright, that you know is your birthright, than you are trying to manage people's perception.
Rule number 43, celebrate yourself.
You know, when I talk about celebrating the journey, that has many layers to it. Celebrating the journey, one means don't wait until you've arrived somewhere to celebrate yourself. That's number one. It means that you're always going to be in pursuit of something. So don't wait till you arrive to acknowledge yourself. Don't wait till you arrive, because I still haven't arrived. Like, we don't arrive anywhere. Like, if you're waiting to arrive somewhere before you celebrate you, oh my God, it's gonna be a long, long life. Celebrating yourself along the way, inside the journey, it is as big as allowing others to celebrate your greatness. How many times do we minimize someone else's acknowledgement of us? You know, I hear it so many. I used to do it all the time too. People say, "Oh my God, you're so great." No. Like, you want them to run past the compliment. Like, you feel uncomfortable. Well, hold on. Celebrating yourself along the way, inside the journey, is allowing people to acknowledge you.
Rule number 44, set quarterly goals.
I like to set quarterly goals instead of annual goals. I like to make them a bit more bite-sized. Now, I start with a big, bodacious, scary, hairy goal, right? Then I immediately release that goal and chunk it down into 4 smaller goals that are bite-sized, digestible, and palatable. I can measure them every 90 days. You want to be able to measure, write this down. You want to be able to measure your actions, your goals, and your milestones every 90 days. When you do that, it allows you to see how close on path you are. Have you exceeded your own expectation? If you have a goal that this year, I want to make an additional $45,000, or I want to make an additional $100,000, and you get to the first quarter and you're $30,000 in, you know you're on path. However, if you have the goal over the year, I want to make an additional $100,000, and you get to the end of the first quarter and you're at $10,000 in additional revenue, you know you need to do something. You know you need to ramp up, or you know that this next season, this next time, I need to make sure that I'm doubling up on my revenue to hit that goal, versus getting to November and realizing that you're only at $35,000 towards your $100,000 additional revenue goal. Whatever your goal is, whether it's $100,000 or whether it's $10,000 or whether it's $1 million in addition, or whether it's new relationships, or whether it's a social media.
Rule number 45, have unwavering confidence.
I get kicked out of college.
I got kicked out of college my second year because I didn't want to continue to run track. I took my team undefeated the first year.
Wow.
And they went from not having won a track meet in 2 years at all to going undefeated in 1 year.
If you could attribute what allowed you to lead the team to do that in one or two insights, what would it be?
I had unwavering confidence.
Did you cultivate that, or was it natural? Was it cultivated at home, or was it personally cultivated?
My dad and my mom, they I don't know if it was brainwash or encouraged me. I could do anything.
Yeah.
Like opposition didn't scare me. It never have scared me. Like, I don't look at how big the mountain is if I can climb it. I go, are we gonna climb it? And what do we need to climb that size mountain? You don't measure if I can do something based on the size of the opposition. You decide we're gonna do it and then decide what to do for that particular scenario. Very different strategy.
Rule number 46, act on your ideas.
If you have a lot of ideas, a lot of things that you want to do, write them out. And I make columns for each one. So I don't put them all together because they're each almost like on separate islands, which is why you feel so fragmented or overwhelmed or whatever that might be. So I make columns, and then I just put the idea at the top of the column. And I just write out everything that I have in my head about the idea until I feel like, whew, okay, I got that out. Once I have them out, then I attach a timeline to when I'm going to start it and ideally complete it. Now, let's be clear. The timeline of when you're going to start it and complete it are going to move. So don't get stressed out about the timeline. You made it up. I'm going to say that again. When you create a timeline, you made it up, which means you get to modify what you made up at any given time. But I give myself a start and a completion date. Now, here's the key thing. There are things that I give a start date to that I'm not even going to start for 2 years, for 18 months. Matter of fact, I'll do, like, let's say I'm in the second quarter of this year. I'll put in one of those columns, my start date is the second quarter of next year. So I know I'm going to get to it. It's called, what am I doing now? And what am I not doing now? But I'm doing it. I'm just not doing it now. Oh, man, can I tell you, don't sleep on that little nugget right there. I learned that from my coach, Susie Carter, that there's your doing now, and then there's your doing, but not now. So it's on the calendar. Everything that you're doing should be on the calendar. There's the doing now. It has a place on the calendar that you're actively in. And then there's a doing not now because it's on the calendar. So I have some great projects I'm excited about. I don't start them for like another 10 months. And then I put all my other projects from these columns inside of these current 10 months. And so now you are doing it because you have a start date, but you're not overwhelmed with it because it's not all vying for your space and your attention in the now.
Rule number 47, own your brilliance.
How can you stay humble, as you amass more success? How can you stay humble while owning your brilliance? I believe that there's two very separate intentions running here. Number one, own your brilliance. Don't question it. You don't have to grandize it. You don't have to highlight it. You don't have to have your brilliance and your talent spew over onto other people and minimize their greatness. When you live in your light, you don't have to promote it or diminish it. You simply live in it. I notice a lot of times when people are successful, they have a tendency to want to remind you that they are successful. They remind you in the way they speak to you. They remind you in the fact that they're always coaching you. They remind you in however the status thing that they do. To me, that's not owning your brilliance or your success. That's trying to prove it. That's trying to remind you of it. And a lot of times people want to remind you or prove to you something when they're still wondering if it's true. So number one, own your light unapologetically. Like, don't try to dim your light, nor should you try to turn it up. Just let it be. Rise the tide from who you're being. Rise the tide from your service. When I say, nor should you try to turn it up, that's not saying don't tap into the greatest version of you. That means don't artificially try to turn it up so everyone in the room knows that you're great. You don't have to do that. You don't have to say it. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to try to remind me of it. Just be it. But by the same token, don't try to hide it.
Rule number 48, practice active self-care.
Practice
active self-care. That means you're not talking about the spa that you want to go to. You're not talking about the nap that you need to take. You're not talking about the weekend you want to get away to. You're actually doing it. So I want you to take a moment to reflect and identify what rejuvenates you. Now, it's not always something huge, something big, something ginormous, but it's something that allows you to write this down, recalibrate your energy. What keeps your energy in calm? So many times we're working out of anxiety, need, or stress. Stress is the number one killer. It's the number one robber of life and joy. What do we do actively? What do you do actively that will rejuvenate you? What's available to you? I want you to write down a strategy about how and when you'll make time for self-care during this busy time.
Rule number 49, cut away the weeds.
I made the best decision I could based on what I knew in that moment. And when I know more, I'll do more. When I know better, I do better. And I'm going to love me in every moment. When I look back at the decisions I made 10 years ago, some of the people I dated, some of the money I spent and what I spent money on, some of the places I went, I go, what was I thinking? And the answer is I made decisions based on what I knew at that time. I'm outside now and you can hear the gardeners in the background. They're cutting away trees. They're cutting away dead limbs. They're cutting away old grass. They're mining the weeds and pulling things out, just like we should do in our lives. And some of those things that we should take away are the fear of people's thoughts of us and what those thoughts are going to show up as in our lives. Listen, what I know, I love the sound of all the machinery in the background because that reminds me to trim away, to cut away, allows a space for new things to grow. So sometimes you have to cut away the need to be liked by everybody, the need to manage everyone else's perceptions and thoughts of you. You have to cut it away, like those gardeners are cutting away dead leaves, like those gardeners are cutting away the weeds, the things that grow in between the beautiful grass, in between the beautiful flowers. There are things growing up inside. That's what's happening in the middle of your transformation. Other people's thoughts, other people's inconvenience. People want to hold you hostage to the person they've always known you to be. What are these new thoughts you have? What are these new things you're doing? We don't know you this way. Go back to the old you. No. Be more committed to the you that you're becoming than you are to the you that they're familiar with.
And rule number 50, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is manage your relationships well.
Over the years, I've had to learn how to disconnect myself from people, how to pull away, how to move on, without what I call Benihana in people. Now, I don't know if you remember, but if you ever go to a Benihana restaurant, they have those sharp knives and they kind of go, and you don't even know that the zucchini is like all diced up until they move it and then everything is cut apart. Well, I used to have a habit of like cutting people off so well, so fast that I felt like I Benihana'd them. Like they didn't know they were like all sliced and diced until they went to walk away and their head fell off and then their arms fell off. And over the years, I had to learn, how do I complete? By the way, I would say, don't break up with people. Don't break away from people. Don't stop being their friends. A better mindset is recognize when the relationship is just complete. Now, I say complete with me. When I say complete, that means the relationship has had every experience that it needs to have. You've done everything you need to do, and it's just complete. So you don't have to make people wrong. That was a big lesson for me because we're taught that in order for relationships to end, someone's brains need to be splattered on the ceiling. Well, the older, wiser me recognizes that I can end relationships from people who I've outgrown, or people who might be toxic, or people who are just not a fit for me, and also leave their dignity intact. Key word. I want you to write that down, type that in chat, because there is a way that you can complete with people. Notice I'm using these key words with you. You can complete with people, meaning every experience that we need to have, we've had. And now I'm complete. That you can do that and leave their dignity intact. You can say this relationship has run its course. You don't have to outline everything that's not working, because when we outline things that are not working, all we're doing is making people wrong. So let me just say, the way you complete a relationship is to first check your ego. Because your ego, or ladies, your she-go, they will get in the way, and what you want to do is point. I'm done with you because of this, and this. And we all know when you point one finger over there, the three fingers point back at you. We've all heard it.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Lisa on how to fail forward that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1, what relationships do you need to manage better? Question number 2, how can you better own your brilliance? And question number 3, what baby step can you take towards your goals today?
So often people are consumed with fear. The fear of judgment, that's a huge one. The fear of failure, what happens if it doesn't work? The fear of success, what happens if it does work and people see me like they really see me for who I am? What happens if I get hurt in a relationship? Like, there's so many what ifs. But what happens when you what if yourself, all over yourself, you never think about the what if it works? What if it has just as much chance at working as it does at not working? And what if you redefine what we call failure? And in my language, I love it in the book Abundance Now that I wrote, and many of you have read it, I talk about you can fail all day long, just fail forward. The only distinction between a bunch of really successful individuals and a bunch of individuals really wanting success is that the successful individuals were willing to fail. And they did fail. They just failed forward. Some of my best lessons are born out of my failures, literally, to this day. And my failures these days cost 6 figures or more. But I'm willing to do that because I want the lesson or the outcome. And if you allow a failure to feed your future, it's what I call feeding your future. Meaning, what are the 2 things that I did really well? And what's the 1 area that I can improve upon? Or what's the 3 things I did really well? And what are the 2 areas that I can improve upon? And then take those 2 things and pull that lesson forward. Or take the 3 things that you did well and make sure you don't lose those. To me, the tragedy of when something doesn't go the way you thought is when you only beat yourself up from it. You never, ever look at what did I do well and where can I improve?
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.